first official football presentation of the brand new Sabermetrics Network. My name is Aaron Schatz. I'm the editor-in-chief of FootballOutsiders.com. We've been missing from the network up until now because we've been busy working on our brand new book, Football Outsiders Almanac 2012. It is available now on our website as a PDF download, also available on Amazon as a published book, over 600 pages of previews of the upcoming season for both the NFL and college football. Rather than go through some sort of basics of football advanced stats, which I know we need to do as part of this site, I wanted to instead look at things a little bit through the lens of our most controversial prediction for the upcoming year. And that is that the San Francisco 49ers will really fall back to the pack in the NFC West. As part of our projection system, we simulate the season 1 million times using a projection system that uses various variables, projects offenses and defenses of different qualities, and then we play the season with them all against each other 1 million times. And the 49ers, who went 13-3 last year and came within a couple of fumbled punts of going to the Super Bowl, come out with an average of only 7.2 wins. Here's the box that appears on top of this year's San Francisco 49ers chapter, and you can probably see where some of the surprise comes from. You can see San Francisco's numbers from last year, which were very good, especially on defense and special teams. And then you can see their projection for 2012. Now, one thing I will point out is you'll notice that we give the odds of them making the postseason, and they're still pretty high, about 40%. That's because while we have San Francisco falling back to the pack, we don't really have any team in the NFC West rising in order to pass them. So we have San Francisco and Seattle basically tied as co-NFC West favorites. Nonetheless, that means no team in the NFC West has an average projection above 8 wins, and it still leads to a lot of surprise for our San Francisco 49er fans. The biggest reason why we're expecting San Francisco to have trouble repeating last year's performance is pretty evident from this table right here, which shows San Francisco's numbers over the last 5 years. It's going to be the kind of thing that fans of advanced stats and sports are going to be pretty used to, even if they've never looked at anything from football before. Simple regression towards the mean and the old Bill James Plexiglass principle. Regression towards the mean says that every team is dragged towards 500 from year to year, and the Bill James Plexiglass principle says that teams which take a huge increase in their performance from one year to the next tend to decrease in the third year, while teams that fall from one year to the next tend to increase in the third year. And you can see how San Francisco in 2011 was so far ahead of where they had been in the previous 4 years. Far ahead in Pythagorean wins, far ahead in estimated wins, which is a formula which takes our DVOA ratings and adjusts them based on luck, schedule, and some sort of specific splits like performance in close games. You can see where the defense and special teams in particular really improved. And that in particular sort of gets to the heart of one of the basic Football Outsiders concepts. And that is that from year to year, offense is generally more consistent than defense, while defense is more consistent than special teams. This is a problem for San Francisco because so much of the quality of their team last year came on defense and special teams. If we expect the offense to stay more or less the same, maybe even add a little bit to the gains of last year, we expect defense and special teams to be inconsistent. When you combine that with the plexiglass principle and simple regression towards the mean, you're left with the belief that San Francisco simply can't go 13-3 next year, or at least that it's very unlikely. San Francisco improved its overall DVOA by 29.8% last year. One of the things that we do in the book is look at past teams over the last 21 years that improved by basically the same amount. That's as far back as we have DVOA, going back to 1991 right now. If you look at teams that improved from one year to the next between 25 and 35 percentage points of DVOA, you'll find that the following year they fell by an average of 12.1% DVOA and 2.3 wins. Things are even worse if we look at teams that are more similar to San Francisco. Most of the teams in the groups I just referenced were actually teams going from horrible to slightly below average, not teams going from bad to good the way San Francisco did. If we only look at teams with this kind of improvement that were above average after their improvement, then we see even more of a fall in the third year. These teams declined in the third year by an average of 16.1% DVOA, or 3.4 wins. Out of the 20 teams in this second group, only 3 teams improved in year 3, and only one of those is really similar to the 49ers. The 97 Patriots only improved slightly. The 2005 Chargers were primarily an offense-driven team, not a defensive-driven team. That team is really sort of the best-case scenario for the 49ers, and we see their starting lineup here. I'm talking about the 2000 and 2001 Philadelphia Eagles. Like the 49ers, this was a team that had been building defensive talent through the draft gradually. You can look at the talent here. A lot of these guys are Eagles draft picks in their second, third, fourth years. Good players like Jeremiah Trotter, my old buddy from Numbers Never Lie, Hugh Douglas, Troy Vincent and Bobby Taylor, and a young Brian Dawkins. They also had a young, top pick quarterback who was just improving, Donovan McNabb, although at this point I think it's fair to say McNabb, even early in his career was a better quarterback with better stats than what Alex Smith has been. Anyway, this team improved from 99 to 2000 dramatically, then kept improving in 2001, and that's, of course, when they started their streak of 4 straight NFC Championship games, which culminated in the Super Bowl loss in 2004. The worst-case scenario for the 49ers is probably the 2001 to 2002 Chicago Bears. That's a team that also had a big improvement to 13-3, driven primarily by defense, just like last year's 49ers, and then were just devastated by injuries in 2002, finishing last in the league in our adjusted games lost metric and went down to 5-11. Speaking of injuries, let's go back to this table for the moment. On the right-hand side, you'll see adjusted games lost for the last 5 years. Notice that the 49ers are second and third lowest in the league in defensive injuries over the last 2 seasons. In general, injuries do regress towards the mean. Therefore, it's likely that the 49ers will have more injuries on defense this year, which is another reason to expect a possible Obviously, decline. There's a lot of reason for 49ers fans to believe that they can be the exception to the rule. They have an easy schedule this year. That's part of what comes with playing in the NFC West. They have an excellent head coach, Jim Harbaugh, whose record in college was keeping his teams improving every season. And they're carrying over basically all their players from last year. On defense, they're bringing back all their starters with one change, and that change is an upgrade where Aldon Smith moves into the starting lineup to replace Paris Harrelson at outside linebacker. On offense, for the most part, the starters are coming back, but there are clear upgrades where there are changes in wide receiver, where Mario Manningham and Randy Moss, who may or may not be good, at least replace the sort of crowd of thousands who played terrible wide receiver opposite Michael Crabtree last year. They're likely to have a healthier Delaney Walker for most of the season. We don't know yet about the change at right guard, where Adam Snyder and Sheila Rashal are out, replaced by Alex Boone. Nonetheless, there are a lot of reasons here to like the 49ers, but it's very difficult to fight against the power of regression towards the mean. Fans of advanced stats in other sports know that. It's just as true in football, and it is a reason why the 49ers are not a leading Super Bowl contender going into 2012. This is Aaron Schatz from Football Outsiders for the Sabermetrics Network. See you next week.